Joining me now is Dr. Chloe Carmichael, a clinical psychologist, and Pastor Corey Brooks, CEO of Project Hood. Dr. Carmichael, let's start with you. This is a very big and unwieldy topic. There are a lot of people who wouldn't want to take it on a cable news segment, but I don't really care about that because to me it's one of the most important issues facing our country. It literally impacts our future, type of future we're about to have going forward. How big an issue is this today? Violence, young people, and normalization of it.
Yes, as you said, Laura, we almost really can't overstate it. And you touched on so many important components. It's such a sweeping issue. You know, to your point about the loneliness and the emptiness in our society, I think that also actually breeds a narcissism. And that connects to what you were saying about the decline of religiosity. When young people are not going to church, they're not only losing that sense of community, they're oftentimes losing a sense of moral code, and they're also losing a sense of humility. That's why you'll very rarely hear the American Psychological Association talk about it, but religiosity is actually strongly associated with mental health. And it's not even any one particular religion. It's the act of going to a house of worship and humbling yourself and subjugating yourself to a moral code bigger than you.
Well, we see, you know, the Boston Globe back in June did a piece about this. Teens who kept their faith seem to be less depressed and lonely than their secular colleagues. Pastor Brooks, look, all hope is not lost. You're seeing a big revival of faith on college campuses and some high schools across the country. We've covered this on the angle, but you're dealing with this on a daily basis with young people. And again, as Dr. Carmichael said, that isolation that so many of them feel while they're connected 24/7, they're lonelier than ever before. What is the most important component to this?
Well, you're absolutely right. And what we're experiencing all across America, specifically here in Chicago, I see it every single day, where you see the seeds of evil being planted in the hearts and minds of young people all across America. And because of that, these different influences, whether it's social media or education, they're pushing policies where there's victimhood and systems of oppression that seem to be overwhelming them, leading them to giving up their responsibilities, leading them to hopelessness, leading them to anger, resentment, which all manifests in violence. And we see that on the south side of Chicago. And I've been saying forever that when you don't deal with violence, regardless of where it is, it's like cancer. It's going to spread. And now we see it spreading to places that normally we would not see, as in the instance of a young man, a young adult with a good family, perpetuating violence on a New York street. And that's the type of thing that we're going to consistently see if we don't do more as Americans to get involved in the lives of young people to lead them down the right path.
I think social media for teenagers is a complete nightmare. I'm sorry. I know people like doing dances and it's fun and funny, but the brains are just not able to take it. And Dr. Carmichael, this just came in from the NYPD on Luigi Mangione. The day before his arrest, they showed his mother the photo of the suspect. She didn't indicate that it was her son, but said it might be something that she could see him doing. So the warning signs apparently about him were there for his own mother, who hadn't seen him for many, many months, Dr. Carmichael, which means, again, the isolation, separation from family, all of that was present, along with, it looks like, his own online, dark web ways.
Yes. And as the pastor was also saying, with this cancer of violence, what these universities where that young man was going so frequently and immersing himself in a culture that wants to squash free speech, that wants to confuse words with violence, when they chant, hey, words are violence. And so then when he wants to make a social point, maybe he had something to say about the healthcare system. But for these young people, the line between words and violence is really blurred to the point where if somebody speaks out against them, they feel it's violence towards them and they'll respond in kind. Or if they have something strong to say, they think it's justified to do so in violence. Again, I think in part because they don't have that house of worship, that religious check, and that grounding in reality upon them.
Well, doctor, thank you so much.